So the topic of the day, can you take the lead on this? This is a question I feel like I've been asked multiple times and it's frustrating. Hey everybody, Scott Dust here. Welcome to the channel. If you're interested in learning more about organizational behavior and organizational psychology, you're in the right place. The conversations we'll be having are about infusing science to better understand how to lead and manage ourselves and others. If you're interested, please subscribe. Thanks and good luck. This is a question I feel like I've been asked multiple times and it's frustrating. And my thing is, if you're my boss and you ask respectfully, then I'm happy to do the work that you're assigning to me. But for me, the problem is when a peer asks me this same question, can you take the lead on this? It seems to kind of change the dynamic a little bit. And so what it typically means to me when I hear it is, I don't really want to do the work on this, and it'd be awesome if you did the work instead. So I think the better framing is, hey, what part of this project would you like to take the lead on, right? It's allowing the person to step up and lead if they want to. Because I think the assumption is that one of you will lead and the other will follow. And that's kind of flawed in that teams really are a synergistic and reciprocal relationship among individuals where somebody's working on something at one point and another person works on it at another point. And really from what's called a shared leadership perspective is that everyone's constantly claiming and granting leadership roles when it makes sense, when the situation dictates. But what you want is a claiming and granting process that feels authentic, not as something that is forced. And so I feel like sometimes people think they're acting like a leader. Hey, leaders are supposed to delegate and they're supposed to ask people to take the lead on something. But in reality, that's something that a manager should say to their direct report, not necessarily something that team members should be saying to each other. So what do you think?
I agree 100% with what you're saying. When your direct supervisor or manager, or maybe someone above you that you're seeking the trust or approval from, when they ask you to do something, right? Generally, you're excited about that work, right? And you wanna take it right on,
right?
On the other hand, like you mentioned, if it's a peer or someone from another group who's at your level or similar, this gets to be a little bit more challenging or maybe misinterpreted in the request. But I want to ask you, like, why is that? Like, absolutely, when someone of your peer asks you to do the work, it can be received much differently. Like, why is that though?
Yeah, I think it's the power difference and like the expectations of power, right? Like power is infused, power, authority, control is kind of infused in that manager-employee relationship, right? There's some type of organizational structure saying this is the hierarchy, and there's accountability and responsibility between those two. It's embedded in the job, right? You're almost taking on the job knowing, hey, this is going to happen. This person's going to ask me to do things. And when that happens, then it kind of creates in the mind, oh, when they're saying it, they're asking me to do the job that I've signed up for. And then when it's a peer and then there's no power differential and you're supposed to be on equal footing, when someone asks you to do it, it really just changes how you interpret it and how you filter it. And so I think that our psychology changes, our reactions change to that request because of the structural dynamics. And maybe it depends on the nature of the relationship too. Like if you really know where that person's coming from or you worked with them before, I don't know.
No, I think you're right on. It's a case by case situation when, more of a peer is asking you, can you take this on?
Yeah.
If it's a good positive working relationship, someone you trust, someone that you're willing to help at any time, any place, it's generally easy to do, right? But sometimes that's not the case. There's no prior relationship. And sometimes people also assume the worst intentions. So it can go either way, right? I mean, I think if you're the one asking for help, hey, can you take the lead on this?
Yeah.
The way you ask and how you ask it and frame the opportunity and the request, it's different when you say, hey, I really need your help. I don't have a resource to do this. you're much better at this than me. If you empower that person and say the right things, I think it comes across better.
Yeah.
Whereas the other one, if you're doing the job for your boss, well, then obviously that's a much easier yes, sir. Yes, ma'am.
Yeah, totally. Yeah. And I think the framing, I think it's helpful, right? When you're coming at that conversation with a peer or a colleague and your equivalent, you're giving some context as to why you might be saying something like that. I still think it can almost be better to frame it as, hey, we all got to get stuff done here and we all need to chip in where our strengths lie. And so everybody step up and do the role you think is most appropriate. Let's negotiate on the fly about that. But in addition to that, if you really do need somebody's help and you're asking somebody to do something, it's using that framing of, here's why, right? I'm doing all these things and I can't get to it at this specific time. I'm not very skilled at this. And I've watched you do something similar to this in the past, or something along those lines, where there's more rationale behind it. So instead of having that initial reaction of, oh, they don't want to do the work and they want me to, there's a little bit more structure to the conversation or to the ask.
I can think of like one or two experiences that I've had around this, where I think what helps is, if someone's going to be asking me for my help and they're not my boss, loop my boss in and get their support. And then when it's like, hey, I talked to your supervisor, or if your supervisor comes to you and says, hey, can you help so-and-so? It seems to be more of a, everybody's all on the same page. And this is work that everybody sees as value added for the request, who's requesting it, and for the overall team, right? So I think that's another way to approach it.
Yeah, I love it. All right, great, perfect. All right, everybody, thanks for joining. For more resources on bridging the gap between science and practice for all things organizational behavior, go to scottdust.com, where you can subscribe to the monthly newsletter and find more evidence-based insights through social media, YouTubes, and podcasts. Thanks.